disabled people tend to lose more stuff than normal people. And if you lose it, it's a bigger deal. But it also affects all minorities. If they lose stuff, it oftentimes a big deal if you get pulled over by the cops or something. But it's also this general life inconvenience that takes away and sucks out time. And the more busy your life is, the more underprivileged, the less time you already have, and the more it impacts you. And one aspect I'm talking about again is IDs. So this is some ideas to maybe make IDs a little bit better for disabled people. In general, one is that you could petition for mobile copies of your IDs. Now that does hurt security because someone else could steal it or something, but it might be worth it in some cases, and you could cancel it if it can't find all of them in a couple of days, because you little buffer, and you could keep them in various places. So you could have one in a safe in your house and one in your car 24/7 or something like that, just to give you that nice ideal buffer zone, if that makes sense. You could use this, say that normally a person only has one copy unless you petition them because of a disability reason or some other reason. Or this could be to make it so that not everyone can just copy your ID and have 50 copies, or anyone can petition it. So there might be some formal process that put in place which a little bit also mitigates how helpful this idea is overall. But I'm throwing it out there as part of a solution. None of the solutions I'm going to offer are perfect. They're all part of a bigger picture. Another one is to have an online version of an ID that you could have on your phone, computer, or laptop. There are some problems with this that I'll get to, but one way and ways around that is that it's probably more easily hacked. But also you can always have fake IDs at times. And not everything needs the highest security with your ID. Now also you could make it so that it's only on one device, or it's a big deal to get on one device. But also the reason why electronics are not worried about people losing as much is we use them for so much more things, especially if you're disabled, for communication reasons and so on, that I'm not as worried about a disabled person losing it. And they tend to be bigger, and you tend to be able to call them or something like that. So there's that advantage. Also, maybe having your actual physical ID actually be an electronic device instead that isn't connected to the internet. I just thought of that. They could call something if you lose it to help you find it. Maybe an idea or some other way of finding it. One way for the online version to be made safer, which I talk about in 3, is that you could have and I've talked about before with password and security ideas, is to have an alternating ID system where you log in, but once you log in, people can start decrypting and hacking your password or something. But what if you have to have a password that changes every day of the week or something like that? That can be hard for you to remember without you resetting. But one way to do it is you have your own password and you add the day of the year, also the day of the week or something like that over and over again. Then if you have a hash function, this mixes it up so it doesn't see the first part. It mixes it up and combines it to make it harder to guess what it is. And different people could have different ones. Like some people could add the day of the week in the beginning, some in the back, and something like that. So that's an idea to make it more safe, and it could be used to make existing bank accounts and other things more safe and less vulnerable to hackers and all these nefarious people. Another idea I have along this line is if something requires more security, it asks you more questions. Or certain times it asks you more questions with security for logging in. So it's not always that you need the most secure thing, or it doesn't display all the information almost always. Just to back up the things, so it only shows you like the social security number or this number, or that you can drive, not all your driver information all the time. And these security questions could alternate, and you could choose how many security questions depending on how much security you want, depending on how you could have it alternate to a different extent depending on how much you need. and so on and so on. So you could also customize it for different vulnerabilities and how much it inconveniences you. Another idea I have to make this whole system is to put it in with is have one card that helps you with government insurance and stuff like that, and then you don't have to have all these different insurance cards. The government does your insurance and stuff, and that could reduce the amount of paperwork and cards you need if you could have like government insurance on your driver's license and stuff. Now there is the problem with that if you lose something, it is a bigger deal. But there's less stuff to lose, and you can better track it. And maybe if you have mobile copies, that's okay. Yeah, before with other security things. But it's an idea that I'm throwing out there again. Now, also in the kind of same idea of putting stuff together is that you could put together the ideas of having many different types of stuff together, such as your passport could also be your driver's license and vice versa, or something like that. And therefore you have to take less government documents, but you just have a bigger government document that you take with you everywhere. And maybe you could have or you could have your driver's license as a small one, and a passport could also act as your driver's license if you lose your driver's license or something like that. Or you could have a customizable driver's license that could be made extra big if you want to include more information and stuff on it. All these ideas that I think people could look at. And it actually might save the money, little money in producing all this stuff. Probably not that much in reality. Another idea is we could have better services for all these things. And by that I mean we can make it so that we have better help desks, better services to get you the stuff, in lines that you wait to make the stuff. Those lines we could have things to help people that have restlessness, or the call the numbers, or that they could do it to help people that have verbality problems or sensory issues with like quiet rooms or quiet spaces. There's not as much lights and flickering. They could have ways that you could communicate better by text, ways they could fill out forms pre-hand or beforehand. It's just you could have it done more in places, maybe even at in-home services where people come to you, more mail delivery services. The options are endless with this, where we could offer more services so people do not have as much difficulty doing it. And also some of these people that it could also be that more people have in their lives a person that just helps them with everyday life. They also help them with this. I would say that though, if they have someone that helps them with everyday life and stuff, fill out these forms, we really need to keep track who helped them fill that out in case they try to take advantage of them in any awful way. Another idea along these lines is to have better fraud insurance and stuff like that by the government, so the government doesn't so if something bad happens to you, it's not as big of a deal in the first place. And that's what means that you can relax a little more, maybe have less stress. And stress also, maybe that means there's less security and more bad stuff happens to you. But on the other hand, maybe if you're less stressed out, you can better pay attention and stuff with all these other services. Also, if you're more organized, even though it might seem like at first it hurts security, if you're more organized, less stressed out, you may be able to track and might actually be able to prevent fraud better. Who knows? This is much more of a psychological health time reason that is hard to really judge and quantify exactly. So I'm kind of hesitant to put it out there. It might just mitigate the effects, so it might not completely stop it, but just mitigate any harmful effects that could or could not happen with these things. But yeah, I am putting it out there. If we had another one that I want to briefly talk about is that if we had a better investigation agency for all these things, we could also track down people that have committed the frauds and stuff better, and I'm not as much concerned if you commit fraud for yourself, but if you commit identity theft and stuff, then that can really hurt other people. These investigation agencies can lower that and make people more hesitant to do that in the first place. It could also be a place to hire up many more people. Beyond all this investigation agency stuff, what it could do is that they could also help you with, again, if something bad happens to you, return you back into your current state in a better place. Another idea along this line is to have multiple ways of signing up for every program with different, which I've talked before about, different form methods, different ways in person, out of person, talking by text, but also using different identifications, stuff like that. And maybe that can also sometimes, if you do it well, maybe mitigate the risk of losing stuff because you don't give away as much information in one place, and they might not be less connected, or they might be more connected. But multiple sign-up methods could help make this whole system easier. Another idea along this thing is to promote more government benefits, so you don't have to sign up for all these separate car insurance, health insurance stuff. It's all done by the government, so you can need to have less forms and stuff to carry around. And that if it's made simple, you can just call up the government and they can have a better record and more resources to investigate stuff, and they can track down fraud and stuff with a better, bigger systems. So, the government benefit idea. Another idea is to have better is to maybe put some of this with biometrics. Now, biometrics means everything from fingerprints to DNA testing to eye pupil to something like that. The problem with biometrics, and why I'm hesitant to say this, but I am throwing out there, is that A, that can be some very personal health information. B, there's a lot of ways biometrics can change, such as fingerprints turn out not to be the best. Because people's fingerprints can change if you carry an accident, if they're worn down from work, if they get cut on it. With AIDS, they can slightly change, but it can also be used to track people that do not want to be tracked, such as maybe you give up your DNA to the government and now they can see a crime scene and they think it's you, or something like that. Or would you want people to know all this information about you, such as your fingerprint, and be able to track you wherever you are? So biometrics is I'm a little more iffy on, but it might be an optional thing. Now, if you have it as an optional thing, there's always a problem that will this optional thing sort of not become optional because everyone else is using it, forcing you to actually start to use the system against your will, which is a frightening possibility, but a real possibility that I don't want to always say it's not going to happen. Another one is that just have an option to print out all your IDs bigger if possible, and then having a bigger ID might just make it easier for you to see it or to show it to other people. So that's an idea right there. Or to have it IDs with where you can just choose different types of font sizes or different fonts or different formats, just to make it easy for some people to see or not, or easy for some people to hold and grab on because there's also physical problems. Maybe that also thicker or heavier, so it's more noticeable. Maybe some of them you can make stronger, some of them more flexible, some of them more rigid. There's all these possibilities just to customize it for different types of people. You could also, with additional forms and stuff, maybe we can make a system that's more easy for people to back you up as like a backer saying that, yes, this person can drive, blah, blah, blah. We have his information and stuff like that. But then that means really you do have to have a trusted person to back you up on stuff. But it's an idea, and that person might also be able to access other information for you and help you out. Maybe that the backer can't change the information, but they can give the information out. Who knows? Or maybe they need, or maybe they can give the information out, but you need to give them a little bit of your own, like a key. But they have the safe that has the more information. Just some ideas right there. Another idea is that it automakes all this stuff. And by automake, what I mean is that it's like automatically registers you to vote, or that when you turn a certain age, it automatically makes your driver's license or something like that. So or every fifth, or when you update some of the information, the government automatically makes your IDs. Now, you also have to figure out how to make the automake system secure and everything like that, so it doesn't just easily get hacked yet again. But it is an idea to throw out there. My last idea is maybe there's a day off, pay or something for that, like every now and then, that's alternating for different people, for them to work just on forms, and when they get extra help, and we can alternate for different types of people, and that way it doesn't impact their work as much, but they can really get through it and have time to think and settle down with it and organize stuff for that particular day. Well, thank you very much for listening. Please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers in a year and 4,000 watch hours, so I can make this more of a permanent thing and higher quality, and so I can help more people and myself. If you have any ideas for future videos, comments, or suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below. Again, thank you very much. Goodbye.